Ja, wir biegen jetzt schon langsam
Now
in
we're
die
going to the final
Zielgerade
straight,
ein, aber wie
and
es dann auch so ist, wenn man in die
well,
Zielgerade biegt, dann wird es
as
in der
you
Regel immer noch
start
spannender.
the final lap, it
Und in
gets
diesem Sinn
more
darf ich
and
jetzt die
more
Celia Martinez
exciting.
Aragón
So Celia Martinez
begrüßen, von der
Aragón
vorher ja schon die
will be
Rede
our
war,
next speaker. She has been
weil
talked
sie
about
heute nicht
earlier
auf der Stilfser Alm war.
because
Aber
she
wie den
was
Namen schon
shepherd on the
entnehmen ist,
Stilsa
ist sie jetzt
Alm,
keine waschechte
but
Südtirolerin,
she
sondern kommt
is
aus
not
Spanien, bringt also nochmal
actually
ein
from the south of Tyrol. She is
einen
from
weiter europäischer
Spain.
Blickwinkel ein.
So she
Und
introduces
Celia,
yet another
ja, wir freuen
European
uns sehr, dass du Teil
perspective.
von unserer
Celia, we are very happy
Herdenschutzkonferenz
that
bist.
you
Und du bist
take
diejenige,
part
die
in
ja die harte
our
Arbeit,
livestock
die
protection
Knochenarbeit als
conference,
Hirtin
and you
seit
do the
mehreren Jahren
hard
machst
work
und
on
eben
site
auch
and
auf der
have
Stilfser
done
Alm
so for
warst.
many years.
Und du
You
gibst
were
uns
on
jetzt
Stilsa
einen
Alm,
Einblick
and you
in
will
dieses
now
Leben. Wir
give us an
freuen uns
insight
drauf. Herzlich
of this
willkommen.
life, and we are looking forward to it. And here you are.
Thank you. I'll start then. Hello, my name is Celia, as you know, and today I will talk about myself and my experiences as a female shepherd.
Beginne ich einfach mit einer kurzen Präsentation über mich.
I will say a little bit about myself, and then I will talk about the farms where I worked and how a small project emerged together with a friend.
Ursprünglich komme ich aus San Sebastian in Nordspanien.
I'm originally from San Sebastian in the north of Spain, in the Basque country, but when I was 18, I moved to Germany and lived there for 8 years in total.
Als ich dort angekommen bin, habe ich
When I arrived there, I worked on a farm, and then I realized how much I actually like farm life.
Ich eigentlich und ja, wirklich zu lernen. Und danach habe ich einen Abschluss in ökologische Landwirtschaft.
I then graduated in ecological agriculture.
2021 beschloss ich, nach Spanien zurückzukehren.
In 2021, I decided to move back to Spain and become a shepherd. I went to shepherd school in Madrid and I still work as a shepherd.
Hatte ich während meinem Studium
Well, interestingly, during my studies,
ja, keine große Interesse an
I wasn't really interested in extensive animal husbandry, but after the lockdowns and after writing my bachelor thesis, I just needed to get away from computer screens, and I had always been fascinated by working with dogs, and so I decided to dive into the world of shepherding.
Ja, die Schule eigentlich irgendwelche Ausbildungen, so wie in Deutschland.
The shepherd school provides different types of training for shepherds, and the aim is to secure the cultural heritage of shepherding, husbandry, and also adaptation to the conditions today. And these schools also look at the problems, the training of young shepherds, to make sure that they can continue and further develop these projects. And this school also works against the lack of qualified staff. Celia, we can't hardly hear you. Please try to be very close to the microphone. Or I don't know, maybe you pushed a button or something, but we hardly heard you.
Ist es besser jetzt?
Is that better?
Das ist wieder besser.
Yes, that's better.
Okay, gut.
All right.
In Spanien gibt es 7 Schäferschulen und diese Schulen
There are 7 shepherd schools in Spain,
also so für die Forderung der Rolle der extensive
and they promote the role of extensive animal husbandry.
Für die
Und Celia, darf ich dich nochmal kurz...
einheimische Rassen.
Also local breeds. Celia, could you please stop sharing your video because we keep losing you?
Okay.
I turned it off.
Kannst weitermachen.
Celia, you can continue, but I turned off your video.
Also, seht ihr meine Präsentation?
Do you see my presentation?
Ja,
Okay.
aber nicht
Yes,
mehr im
but not in
Präsentationsmodus.
presentation mode.
Gut, dann mache ich das wieder.
Okay, I'll start again.
So?
Ja.
Like that?
Ja, okay.
Yes, good.
Also, genau, wie gesagt, also in Spanien gibt es ja 7 Hirten.
There are
Schulen,
7
und
shepherd
diese
training
Schulen
schools in
engagieren
Spain,
sich,
and these
wie schon gesagt, für einheimische Rassen
schools
und für den
focus on
nachhaltige
autochthonous
Nutzung der Ressourcen,
breeds and the
sowie auch
sustainable
natürlich
use of
Aufwertung
available
der
resources, and they also
identitätsfrechen
focus
Produkten,
on
also echte
more
Werthaltung
appreciation
des
for the
Tiertums,
products generated
was in
in
Spanien halt eine sehr lange
sustainable
Tradition
agriculture.
hat.
Pastoralism has a long
Und ich
tradition in
war,
Spain.
wie gesagt, in Madrid in der Hirtenschule,
So I was
im
in
Campo
Madrid,
Adentro.
in Campo
Und das ist ein
Adentro,
Projekt,
which is the name of the shepherd school,
ja, die Beziehungen zwischen Stadt und
and
Land
the
in heutigen
relationship
Spanien,
between rural and city
durch
areas in today's Spain
kleine Projekte halt schaffen. Und eine davon ist halt
are now
diese
improved
Hirtenschule.
by a series of
Wir machen
small
auch
projects, and one of them
investigative
is
und
this
wissenschaftliche
shepherd school.
Arbeit,
We also do
Dokumentation und halt auch
investigative and
Wissenschaft.
scientific work.
Und
We
direkt
also
nach der
publish,
Hirtenschule,
and we have the school.
habe ich auch ein
Directly
Programm
after
unternommen, die
the
Ovinova
shepherd
heißt.
school, I underwent another training
Genau. Ovinova,
called No, I did
ja,
something
ist
called
einfach so
Ovinova.
eine von verschiedenen Organisationen
Ovinova is
gebildete
one
Arbeitsgruppe, die
of
das Ziel hat,
different organizations
so die
working
Grundlagen
group,
für
and the
die
aim of
Wander-
Ovinova
also
is
so Transhumanz, also so Wanderweidewirtschaft, so zu schaffen.
to
Und
create
dort
the
war ich
basis for
Lehrerin
transhumans, for nomadic
monatelang in den Bergen von
shepherding, and I
Valencia, zusammen
spent
mit einem
4
Hirten
months in
und
the
einer anderen
mountains of
Praktikantin.
Valencia,
Wir hüten so mehr als
together
1000
with another
Schafe,
shepherds
zusammen
and
mit
a
8 Mastiffs
young woman.
und 4
We
Hütehunde.
had 4
Und
herd
ja,
dogs
wir bleiben da, also wir
and
blieben
a
da 4
big
Monate
number of
in der
sheep.
gleichen
We
Hütte. Diese Hütte
spent
hatte
4
kein
months
Warmwasser, keine
in
Dusche,
one hut, a hut without hot
Kamin,
water,
also
without
die
a
Bedingungen
shower,
waren also ziemlich
without a
hart,
chimney. So the
was auch sehr
conditions were
üblich hier in
quite
Spanien
fierce,
ist.
which is also something that
Und
is
genau, zum Glück gibt es
normal
dort
here
nicht
in
so
Spain.
viele Stürme
And
wie in
luckily,
den
we don't
Alpen,
have as many
aber
thunderstorms
es
compared to the
trotzdem
mountains
relativ kalt,
in the
vor allem
Alps, but it
nachts.
was still cold,
Und
especially at
also
night.
wir befanden uns auf 1600
We
Metern
were located at
in einem
1,600 meters
recht
above sea
eigentlich
level
einfachen,
in
aber auch manchmal
quite
felsigen Gebiet.
easy, but sometimes a rocky terrain.
Und wir hatten auch die ständige Anwesenheit von Wolf und Bär.
And
Und auch
we had a
Eisbären.
permanent
Also
presence of
insgesamt von den
wolves and bears
1000
and
Schafen
other
wurden
carnivores.
gestorben
So from
30
these
Schafe.
1,000 shepherds, we lost 30.
Ja.
They died in total.
Genau, ich war ja mit den 2 Menschen dort oben.
I
Aber
was
von Ende
there with the other
September
shepherd and the
bis
intern,
Oktober,
but
also
from
der
the end of
letzte
September until
Etappe in den
mid-October,
Bergen, war
during
ich
the
alleine,
last stretch in the mountains, I
der
was on my
Hirte
own
und auch
because
die
the shepherd and
Praktikanten
also the
mussten gehen,
intern
aus verschiedenen
had to
Gründen.
leave for different reasons.
Und ja, dann blieb ich
So
alleine
I
auf einmal.
stayed alone,
Und das war für
and I
mich
was alone all of a
so eine
sudden.
brutale Umstellung.
And that was really a
Denn ich trug bisher
brutal
immer
change
sehr wenig Verantwortung wie vorher, sondern
because I
hatte sozusagen
didn't
das
only
Leben
have
von
little
mehr
responsibility,
als
but
1000
suddenly
Lebewesen auf meinen
I was
Schultern.
in charge or
Das
shouldering the
war
lives
eine
of more
harte
than
Zeit,
1,000
mit viel
animals. It
Kälte,
was
weil
a
es ja jetzt am
hard
Ende der
time. It was
Saison,
very
also mit viel
cold because
Kälte,
it was the
Nebel
end of a season,
und sogar
a lot of
wieder
fog
Wolfsangriffen.
and wolf attacks.
Und dieser Wolfsangriff
And
hinterließ
these
auch eine
wolf
Menge verletzte
attacks
Schafe, die ich auf jeden Fall behandeln
left a lot
musste,
of injured sheep
damit
that
sie
I had to
überlebten.
take care of every day to make sure they
Und
survived.
wenn ihr schon einmal einen
And
Wolfsangriff
if you
erlebt habt,
have ever
weißt ihr,
experienced a
wie
wolf
sehr
attack,
diese
then you
Wunden
know
sich entzünden
how
und auch
these
wie schwierig
wounds
es
can be subject to
sie zu
inflammation and how
heilen.
difficult it is to heal them.
Und ja, zum Glück hatte ich andere Praktikantinnen
Luckily, I
bei
had other
mir,
interns with
die
me
mich sehr unterstützen
who
und mir
supported me very
sehr große
much
Hilfe waren,
and
weil,
who were a big help
ja, wie gesagt, alleine hätte ich das nie
because I wouldn't have been
geschafft.
able to do it on my own.
Und das
Never.
war, also ich kam sozusagen von der absolute Bukolie zu einem sehr starken
So
Realitätsschock.
I had a big shock of reality, so to say, because this was not only about making sure that the sheep can eat on their own and become fat, as it was the case in the summer, because this is one of the most important things that the shepherd needs to make sure of, that they can eat and fatten enough. Suddenly, I was confronted with these challenges, and I realized that there are several phases when you're in the mountains with them. And sometimes there are phases where you can just bathe in a phase of contemplation, but then again, sometimes you work from sunrise to sundown because there are thunderstorms or something like that, or bad weather. And despite the losses because of wolves, everything worked quite well, and we managed quite well to bring the sheep back down into the valley, well fattened and well fed. That was another place. Then I went to Extremadura in the south of Spain, and in Extremadura I spent several months with the same sheep and lambs, the same sheep that I had on the pastures in the summer for lambing, because these were sheep from the south of Spain that were brought to the north of Spain, and I was at the farm where the sheep were from. This farm was a sheep farm owned by two brothers who have about 1,700 sheep. They keep them on different parts of land with a total area of 700 hectares. These sizes are normal in that area, big grazing areas in the south of Spain, because there is not a lot of grass in the south of Spain. And this farm lives off the sale of lamb meat, because selling wool does not make a living anymore. There's not much money in it, unfortunately. So I spent lambing time with 600 ewes with just 2 humans, which was a lot of work. But this farm, like many other farms in Spain, just don't have the funds to employ another person. And when I talked to these farmers, I realized something. I realized something that I knew from theory or from stories, but now it was embodied knowledge through my own experience. And that in reality, in Spain, there are a lot of extensive farmers. And this looming frustration through this lack of rentability of this type of operation, caused by a series of reasons. For example, permanent obstacles that keep coming up, and they have different causes. One of the causes in the south of Spain is climate change, because in the south of Spain, climate change manifests itself through lack of water. This leads to not enough grass on the grounds. Then farmers have to buy feed, and the price for feed is rising. Other causes are frustration, lack of rentability, obstacles from the authorities, which is a catastrophe in Spain. Also a lack of a new generation. There are simply not enough young people who want to embark on that path because it's very strenuous, and also a rise of production cost, which is also a global problem. Also, the prices drop, prices of land. And then another friend of mine who is also a shepherd, and I felt that we wanted to do something and show this hard reality.
Mit spannenden Projekten und Menschen sehen.
I mean, we wanted to show, on the one hand, projects which give hope, but we also wanted to show that there are differences between the countryside and the city, and a very sad neglect of the primary sector, at least in Spain. And this is, against this backdrop, we developed a project, and I'll talk about the project later. After Valencia, I went to France. I worked in another project, and then I moved to Madrid, in Los Apesquillos, which is an agroforestry holding with work experience from over 20 years, working in the area of Madrid. And there they make cheese, they have sheep, they have goats.
Und wir haben auch eine lokale Schafrasse.
They work with local sheep breed. So again, this was an agroecological project, and the aim was to improve the herd and to adapt it to the terrain and breed the best lamb meat. And this sheep herd does transhumance in Casa de Campo, which is a big area in Madrid. They eat oaks and have enough to eat in that area. And I went to Casa de Campo in that area of the Sierra Mountains, and I helped also with the lambing. What I consider important with these projects is that there is information about them out there, that they are supported, because these are the projects that lead people back into the villages, because more than 57% of the population lives in cities, even though over 80% of the area in Spain is rural area. So projects like these could make living on the countryside more attractive. And this confrontation with reality that we wanted to show, my friend Sorinia and myself decided in March last year to launch a project. We are two young Spanish women who like sustainable animal husbandry and who want to create bridges between the different worlds: city, rural, young, old, traditional, innovative, international, national. And we consider networks as one of the cornerstones to reach people and to disseminate the information, to say, hey, we're young, we're from a city, but we want to be shepherds. We are both not, we don't have an agricultural background, but our studies related us to agriculture, and our life trajectories made us end up with animal husbandry. We both are aware of the dangers of pasture management or of grazing on pastures and extensive pasture systems. We do know about them, but we want to have a positive outlook on the future. And we simply want to show that extensive pasture animal husbandry and shepherding can be and should be something for young people as well. So this is our own personal project. So far, we only have an Instagram and Facebook page.
Und wie gesagt, einfach so eine Brücke zwischen Menschen, Organisationen.
Basically, what we want to create is a bridge between people, institutions, authorities, but be deeply rooted in practical life. Because we believe that global challenges
kontextspezifische Lösungen
require context-specific solutions.
werden sollten. Und dafür brauchen wir aber
And for that, we believe
so Einblicke aus der ersten
we
Hand.
need first-hand insights and experiences.
Und dann, wie ihr weißt, ich komme schon zu Ende, schon zu spät.
And I don't know if we're running out of time, but as you know, I spent time in stills between May and October.
War dieses meine intensivste
This
und
was my
längste
most intense and longest experience in this field of work. I took care of 400 ewes for several months and lambs as well, and also 30 sheep, together with 6 Marimano guard dogs
die Arbeitshunde, also die Schäferhunde.
and the herding dogs.
Und genau, ich bin in der Zeit
In that time,
umgezogen.
I moved more than 7 times.
Beide, wie heißt das, also Transhumanz, kleinen Transhumanz.
I really did practice transhumance.
Was halt diese Umzüge mit einer sehr großen logistische Aufwand.
And moving was always a big logistic effort.
Wie schon besprochen, von einfaches Gelände.
You have seen this before, but sometimes terrain is easy to manage. Sometimes it was very steep, very rocky, which made my work very difficult.
Die Herdezusammenführung halt sehr schwierig.
And it was difficult to keep the herd together.
Eine Wolfsangriff auf eine ungeschützte.
We had one wolf attack on an unprotected part of the flock.
Mehrere Lämmer auf den Bergen geboren.
Several lambs were born on the mountains.
Nur mit mehr Arbeit verbunden. Genau.
This was also related to more work, but despite everything, we only had we had a loss rate of 5%, which in sheep is quite a good number. With goats, the rate was higher.
Ja, die Ziegen hatten keine Glück dieses Jahr leider.
Because the goats, unfortunately, were not lucky that year. A lightning bolt struck 9 goats, and 6 goats died. We don't know exactly why, but we think it was because of stress. And with sheep, the numbers were quite good.
Unheimlich viel gelernt.
I learned so much in this year. It was a lot of work. It was really intense, but it was also very enriching for me. I was always supported, as you have heard. I always had Thomas' support, and also Joseph supported me, and Veronica, who was also a sheep farmer.
Genau, weil ohne den wäre ich eigentlich gegangen.
Because without them, I would have left, or I wouldn't have been able to manage. I learned a lot about livestock protection, building fences. And after 6 months without a break on my own, I realized that it had been enough. So I selected another option for me as my next step. But I hope that what I've learned won't be lost. And I will definitely be able to deploy my knowledge or pass on the knowledge. And when the Stilts project continues, that I will be able to help. I hope that. These have been my experiences. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Ja, liebe Celia, erstmal ganz herzlichen Dank.
Dear Celia, thank you so much for your insight into the life of a shepherd, and chapeau for your courage to do such sometimes lonely and hard work, and also for your project. Thank you for building bridges, because we, as you say, we need bridges between the people who work in agriculture and those who then buy and consume the product. I think that's fantastic. There is Katharina, who would like to say something. I actually have two questions. One is, I keep hearing about animal keepers who are looking for shepherds or support by volunteers or whoever. And then they say, people from the city and the students, you can't use them at all. What can I respond to them, or what would your answer be? And the other question is, how long have you been working with guard dogs? How did you start working with guard dogs?
Ja, also die erste Frage, also für mich
Well,
die
the first question,
beste, wie sagt man das? Also das Beste ist einfach mit Beispiel zu zeigen. Also bei
I think the
mir,
best
ich hatte
way
einfach die
is by
Erfahrung,
leading leading by example.
sehr oft nichts gehalten und
Because my experience was that people really didn't believe in me and said, why are you here? You studied at university. They didn't understand at all why I wanted to be a shepherd. But then once you show that you are enthusiastic about this work, the opinion changes of the others. And to be brave enough to just go there and say, hey, I'm happy to work. I want to do this work. That really changes many people's opinions. And about the dogs, my first experience with them was last year in the summer. And since then, I've always worked with with guard dogs at every farm that I was at.
Gut.
Good. There's one more question. What can we do in terms of the methodology of livestock protection measures? What can we learn from Spain? Are there any solutions that could also be a good approach?
Ja, also da, was ich gesehen habe, aber ich glaube, das ist auch in andere Länder auf jeden Fall auch.
Well, from what I've seen, but I think other countries do the same. They use hair protection for everything. At this farm in the south of Spain, there were no wolves and no bears, but foxes. And they used the guard dogs to keep the foxes away, because foxes often come and eat the lambs, and the lambing was done outdoors, not in the stables, but on the pastures. And in Madrid,
ganz viele, also das war wie gesagt ein urbaner Park. Also da
we were working at an urban park. There were always people with dogs, also dogs that were not on a leash. And our dogs did fantastic work to protect the herd against other dogs, dogs of the passers-by. They did not attack the dogs from the walkers, but they just kept them at a distance. And I think guard dogs in Spain are generally much more accepted, or they are not so new. And that's why they are deployed much more for different kinds of purposes. And I think that's interesting. And in terms of fence construction, I've learned much more this year than in the last few years.
Also wie sagt man?
How can I say that?
Die Deutschen haben die besseren Zäune.
The Germans have better fences. Exactly. There's probably a lack of money in Spain to buy good material, good fences.
Okay.
Good.
Ja, Celia.
So, Celia Martinez, Aragón, thank you very much for having enriched our conference with your interesting presentation. All the best, and we hope that we will see you again as a shepherd in the Alps or in the German-speaking area. Thank you for the invitation.